Hello and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I am Caroline Carruthers with Carruthers and Jackson, and we are partnering with CDO Magazine, MIT CDOIQ, say that when you're drunk, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers in a series of interviews. Today I have the absolute pleasure of talking with Tina Salvage, who is the Head of Data and Technology at Stop the Traffic. And she is also, and this is a massive congratulations, Tina, I think this is so brilliant, she's also the winner of the Women's Data Leader Global Summit 22. I had to make sure I got all the words just in the right order, Tina. I hope that I give you your award in the right order.
Thank you so much, Caroline. It's a pleasure to be here.
That's brilliant. Stop the Traffic, I find, doing some fantastic things. And I just wondered, could you explain a little bit more about what they do before we dive into the interview?
Yeah. So Stop the Traffic is essentially here to disrupt human trafficking. And we predominantly look at the demand, recruitment and money side of human trafficking. And we have an amazing tool that we use called the Traffic Analysis Hub, which allows us to basically bring in lots of data from multiple different places, including open source, as well as police departments, other NGOs, which allow us to understand and bring out intelligence in relation to human trafficking, so that we can understand trafficking routes, and we can understand potentially where the money of those trafficking routes and what banking systems they're going through.
Wow, that sounds like a really worthwhile thing to be doing. And you can obviously see how data would interplay with all of the things that underpin what Stop the Traffic do.
Absolutely.
Kudos. I feel like I'm not worthy as it needed to be started with. I'm going to dive right in because obviously data is a big part of what you're doing with Stop the Traffic. And what do you find causes the biggest problem when you're putting governance in to make sure you're using the right data?
I would say it's the fact that we have quite a lot of unstructured data. And obviously what comes with unstructured data, as I'm sure everyone listening will know, is that it comes in many shapes and different forms. Everybody kind of takes different portions of data that are relevant for their area. So what might be relevant for the police isn't so relevant for an NGO. So it really is about trying to make that data work for what it is that we're actually trying to do at Stop the Traffic.
I can understand. And how do you sell something like governance to the people that you're working with?
I think, and I think the best thing really, especially in a non-profit charity, is around proving the cost-saving benefits of data governance. And basically showing that by putting data governance around particularly unstructured data, you get good quality data out of our Traffic Analysis Hub, which is of course of benefit to our partners and anyone else that wants to use our Traffic Analysis Hub by interceding it or ingesting it into their own data sets.
I guess it kind of, to make it in my bear of little brain words, I guess it's reducing the sort of garbage into the equation before so it's not garbage coming out. So if you get good quality going in, you stand a much better chance, don't you, of getting what you need out of it.
Absolutely. And of course, what comes with that is a cost benefit, simply because you're in a position whereby you're shaping that data in readiness for somebody else to use, whether that be for intelligence or whatever else they want to use that data for, and align it with their own data to try and help them to figure out money laundering specifically, because human trafficking, the monetary side of that is money laundering. And so financial institutions are obviously interested in the money laundering side and deterring money laundering and money launderers using their banking systems.
So you must deal with a lot of different partners and data coming from lots of different places. How do you handle working with the partners when it comes to things like governance and actually getting the data in a way that you can use it?
Yeah, so we have what we call a golden tags document. I'm sure different people would call it different things, but essentially we have a preferred data set that we like to obtain as much as possible that we can from the unstructured data. And that doesn't mean if the data set isn't completely fulfilled in line with the golden tags that we won't take the data. It just means that we might need to do something slightly different with it to make it work. Yeah. So there isn't always an automated side to what we do, but we try and make it as automated as possible.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. And I think, it kind of explains how you try and get things in the way you want it, but obviously if there's tweaks, the onus is a bit on you then to be able to turn it into something useful and what you need.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So when you were first touched upon governance there, you were talking about how you could do the cost savings and the benefits of governance. How do you balance the whole idea of the sort of what I would call the risk and the value side of data and data governance?
Yeah, so for me, I think you need to understand the risk appetite of the company. Absolutely. And then you need to link the risks to expected rewards. And that obviously for me, data governance needs to be part of the whole risk methodology across the company. Just because it comes with it's not just about data protection in terms of GDPR or PII. It's actually fundamentally wider than that, and includes things such as cybersecurity. So it's the offset of risk and reward, and then obviously understanding the risk appetite.
I love that, because I am sick to death of telling people that if you write something on a piece of paper, that counts as data. It still has to be, that it's still a risk. If you put that down on a train, it's worried about an IT system, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's brilliant. So I know that you've been with Stop the Traffic for about 6 months now, so there's quite a lot happening. There must be, finding your feet. You've done through your first 100 days. I'm sure you're moving things on now.
Yeah.
But are you finding that you're having to take them on a little bit of a journey? Are you taking through any kind of change? What are you implementing when you're there?
Yeah, so I'm quite lucky in that it's across Stop the Traffic. There's a real emphasis on it being data culture. So every team within Stop the Traffic touches data in some way, shape, or form. But what hasn't really been there is around the thinking around probably the whole methodology of data governance. So absolutely all of the fundamental principles such as data protection and cybersecurity and all of those great things are there. The key for me is things like lifecycle management, trusted sources, and potentially partially a bit of inventory as well around the data set. And again, I've been lucky in that in terms of a cultural change shift, it's not a huge leap. It's just about it's about sharing the benefit of doing these things and why we do these things and how that actually helps each of the individual teams across the Stop the Traffic to achieve their part in playing stopping human trafficking.
I think when you've got such a core goal to the organisation, it's easier to do that, but you're making something I know is very difficult sound very simple, so I love that.
Yeah, and I absolutely accept that in some companies, doesn't matter whether it's a charity or corporate, that cultural change in terms of understanding the benefit of data governance and applying those methodologies and frameworks can be quite difficult. What I would say there is you have to get buy-in from the top, and actually take everyone on a journey. And I think in terms of resistance, I generally found in the past it's because either there's a lack of understanding or awareness, or there's a lack of in terms of not really knowing the what's in it for me scenario. It feels like someone's coming and doing something to you and you've been doing the same thing forever and it's worked, so why should you change? And essentially it really is for me about the benefit and the reward and then taking people on that journey to actually show them how much more beneficial it would be to include data governance as part of their everyday work. I always say that data governance should almost be hidden. It's like something that should just happen in the background, and the only time you should know about it is if something's going wrong. And it downplays it a little bit, but it just, for me, it just should be BAU as part of that, as part of your everyday work.
Yeah, it's not something that you have to tag on the end, is it? It's just an ethos that runs through.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Tina, for speaking to me today. It's been fascinating talking to you, so I hope you've enjoyed it too. Everybody, please visit cdomagazine.tech for any additional interviews, and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.